topical issues, Braveheart, and I would like to refer you to a movie that I watched called Braveheart by Mel Gibson. I would recommend you watch the movie first and then follow the story and what it gives us in life. Braveheart, as a movie, is a very interesting movie. There was a time when I was working and I wanted to do something for a brother, but then he didn't have a job, so we started a video show. By that time it was, if you bought a video player and a big TV, you will put cassettes and then you will show like a movie. And it was during that time that he once recommended a movie for me. And I asked him, what movie? And he told me a very good movie about the Scottish Rebellion. Asked about Scottish Rebellion? He said, yeah, there's a movie that is making the rounds around the world. And it is about the Scottish Rebellion. And I asked, which Scottish Rebellion? He said, it is something that happened in history when Scotland and England, the English were ruling Scotland. And it was that reign of King Edward. Then I wondered, what could be so exciting about this movie? And I put on the movie. It showed the best part that I've never seen. It showed a real ancient battle. And the way I used to read in history about past war practices, that people would come, curse the enemies, so that the enemies you are fighting are cursed, and also that your enemies will curse you. So whoever had a stronger spell had an upper hand. And I watched when the English soldiers were coming, and Mel Gibson's group unleashed their curse. By then, people did not put anything under the clothes, and you can imagine the waving the bear behind. As a cast. That's why it was funny. Sounds funny, doesn't it? And people fought with vigor. They wanted to liberate themselves from England. He led several rebellions, and the rebellion was successful. But unknown to him, some people within his group were not happy. So they planned with the British, and they betrayed him to the British. When the British captured him, they did what they used to do traditionally. They tied him on a horse and pulled him onto the ground, until when he reached the place of execution. And because he was a rebel, they cut his private parts and burnt them as he watched. Then he was hanged. And then after hanging, he was disemboweled. all the insides, just the way people disembowel a cow or a chicken. And then he was quartered. At first I was asking myself, what is to quarter? And then I realized that it was a punishment that was reserved to the person from when he is arrested to when he is dead, so that it would spark fear in the people so that they don't rebel. So he was cut into 4 parts, each part taken into a different place in London that time, so that people would look at it and know that is the punishment that befalls a rebel against the English government. He'd fought a brave man, led a brave rebellion, but eventually his very own betrayed him. This brought about the thought of the Spartan, the 300 Spartan, led by King Leonidas of Sparta. The way they stood against 100,000 special Persian warriors. They knew the shadow, the shield technique. And that time, the king that was leading that group would order, we shall finish you with the arrows. And Leonidas would answer, the better for us, because it will give us shadow as we wage war against you. And surely they will fire or shoot arrows until the sky was full of arrows and shadow covers the area. But this one would make the box formation and the arrows would fall on the shields and they would still fight. By the time they were betrayed by one of their own, the 300 men had fought and killed almost 10,000 Persians. 300 men. It was the end. It was a place where they had chosen to fight. The place could only allow people to come uphill from one area, so you could not be able to engage the full army. And since they were good fighters, they fought. They were brought the best unit, the Immortals. They defeated the Immortals. But after being betrayed, they did not go down quietly. They fought, now being attacked from both sides. Their spears broke. They fought with their bare hands. They used stones, but eventually they were overwhelmed by the numbers, betrayed by their own. This is something that has happened in many places around the world. I'll talk of the Bible story. The Bible story. Now let's go with it that way. Jesus did great things for his people. And eventually, they betrayed him. Other countries also, great warriors fought. I will also mark ours. A warrior fought, and many warriors fought, but we betrayed them. A leader who was named after the primary school I went to. I always love talking about this man. He fought and he went down after betrayal. We don't know what happened because we are told the colonial government hanged him. And his grave was put in a place that has never been known up to now. But it was betrayal after he had fought strongly. And there are many other countries that the same thing has happened. Why am I saying this? I'm talking about situations in the modern times that have happened. Take a case of Anwar Sadat. After the war, he fought very hard to bring peace to his nation. He was shot down by his own people. Benazir Bhutto, the first woman prime minister in an Islamic country, brought down by her own people. Indira Gandhi, in Congo, just after Laurent Kabila had taken over, he was brought down by his own soldier. His son took over. So what am I saying? I'm saying that in life sometimes you do things without expecting everybody to follow whatever you are doing. Sometimes it is their rights that you are fighting for. But sometimes they let down. They let you down. It may be because of jealousy. It may be because of the class you belong to. It may be because out of those things that you are fighting to help them and you liberate yourself is a benefit to them. William Wallace fought for the Scots. The Scots betrayed him. People around the world, there are many emerging people who have come telling you things that can be of benefit to you. But what happens, many people do not like changing the position they are in. Sometimes even torture may be a comfort zone. And you relax there. I love this torture. It's good torture. Sometimes injustices may happen and we are drawn towards it thinking, now, those who are doing are my gang. Those who are doing are my group. It calls for higher moral to be able to stand up. Be it my brother, be it somebody from my own area, be it something that would make me be called a betrayer to a village, to a community. But if it's wrong, it takes a higher moral ground to stand up and say, almost all of you in this village or in this community have said it is this way, but I will not concur with you because morally it may not be right. That is the situation that faces us around the world. How many are willing to stand up? Like William Wallace, for their country, though they may be betrayed here and there. When I talk about this, I talk about life, I talk about countries. I remember when I was calling for countries, things were hot. I think now the war has gone down because most democratic countries are able to call, but now everybody was in a war mood. It will appear they will betray their countries. It calls sometimes for other people in other places also. You belong to a party, you belong to a community, you belong to whatever you call it. There is always that call for crowding together, a beehive mentality. Let the world not be the one to control you. Let your inner soul be the one to control you. It may not be religious, it may not be traditional. Sometimes you may seem to be a betrayer, but nature will always remember that you stood the higher moral ground. When I talk of this, I remember a lady who used to go to Rafah, an Israelite lady, and when the raid came, she was amongst those who were tortured and killed. It dampened the hearts of many. But sometimes one has to stand the higher moral ground. People in situations that may be possible to help unite communities, unite tribes, unite villages, unite countries, should take the moral ground. Like I said again, and I'm saying now, let Dharma, let righteousness, morality be the weighing scale of our reactions, of our thoughts. Let's not support something because everybody in our country says so. Everybody in our continent says so. So if you talk, you'll be talking out of tune with what your continent is saying, with what your country is saying, with what your village is saying, with what your family is saying. That's why religious organizations and proper social organizations stand for this thing: morality, Dharma. Be on the right side of Dharma, not on the wrong side of Dharma. That is what history has always shown. Sometimes you may suffer, but the fruits for those who receive what you have done are long-lasting. I always talk of great people like Nelson Mandela, the fruits of what he left. I talk of the teacher who was proud to be called a teacher. I always talk, he used to be, I was a small boy by then. Mwalimu Kabarage, yes, left unity that has not been broken. And many others. I'm talking of people who stood the high moral ground. As an individual in your position, being a nobody, being in a position, it is our duty to take the upper moral ground, higher moral ground. And just like William Wallace made a difference that inspired a great movie like The Great Heart, you may not be acting a movie. You may not make that much of a big impact, but the small impact you make will leave a lasting impression for the future. Let's stand on the moral high ground. Be on the right side of Dharma. That is my take for now.